Hello, Embird users. I really enjoyed creating this little effect. It's kind of like a masking effect, and it's just so beautiful, and it was so easy. And I wanted to show you a couple of tricks that I actually learned myself today, and how Studio Next makes things quite a bit easier in some respects. So I will start by first creating the octagon, and then I'll bring in this shape, this little design, and we'll just go from there. We'll just do design new or control N. Let's see, I'll say no because I saved that as a different name. And I'll just start by creating my octagon shape. I'll start by clicking the mesh over here. I don't know if you saw that, this mesh icon. And I'll just click once, shape, polygon, 8-sided. I'll hold control. And I can't remember if I made that one uh, symmetrical or not, but and then I'll hit enter, and I'll hold control and alt and then C to center it. Maybe I'll make it as big as my hoop. I don't really have to, and I'll center it again. And so there's my mesh object. And so now I'll just go ahead and give it some parameters. So I'll hit parameters here, right here. And tiles is the mode I like. And it's been defaulting to 35, and that's fine. I think my scale was at 200%. So if you wanted a different, a different mesh design or black work, this is the black work. This is a category of black work, but you can scroll through and choose something different. But I'll just leave it as black work 35, 200%. I'll go to this tab, click here to set my stitch length at 2, check, and then click there. 2, I could hit enter just one time since I clicked up here. If I wrote it in, say 2.2, I'd have to hit enter twice to get out of that. But since I just hit up here, I hit enter once. Hit apply. Okay. And one thing you'll notice, I put include contours on so that I get an outline all the way around. I'll hit done. Okay, so there's my design, and that, okay, in 3D, I thought I had, let me go to options for, let's see, just the background. In 3D, show fabric, fabric color. Okay, done. I thought I was in 3D. Sometimes, let's see. Okay, sometimes you have to click some other tab and then click 3D for it to show. I'm not sure why that happens, but I can go back to normal mode, and I can or cannot show my grid. So I'll just go to View, Layout, and uncheck Show Grid, just so we don't have to see it. And then I'm in normal view now instead of 3D, but I can go back to 3D. And now I'm going to bring in my shamrock shape. So I'm going to merge it by doing Design, Merge. And I have my favorites under here. You could see shapes, and I already have it pulled up. But if I didn't, um, you know, I would just click on shapes and then shapes would show up here. So let's just click on mesh. Okay, and then I click on shapes. So then these are all my shape folders. These are my files that are not in those folders. And there's my Shamrock outline. And the reason it's showing up first is because I probably have it sorted by date. And it's descending because ascending is not checked, I believe. Let me see. If I check that, yeah, it goes to the bottom now. Now you can see it's ascending. So I usually have it unchecked. So, and if I didn't have anything saved in favorites, these are my folders up here. I would just go to, you know, all embroidery designs, stitch and vector Lisa's, shapes, and it brought me back to the same place. So there's my shape. And there it is. And you know, it's just an outline. So I'll make it, see if I make it black. Oh, I didn't have it selected. More, just pull that out. Okay, I could see it a little bit better. So you say, well, how am I supposed to cut that? It's just an outline. Well, we'll go ahead and we'll make it into a fill. But before we make it into a fill, if I'm going to use this outline as, say, an applique, then I'm going to zoom in with my enter. Then this is going to be my applique that I'm later going to add, you know, my placement, my tack down, and then my decorative stitch and so on to it. So if that's what this is going to be, I actually want to expand this or echo it or whatever, because the echo is what I want cut out. I don't just want this to cut out my mesh. It just looks better when there's an echo around it, and that's how quilters, you know, love to work with echoes. They're just beautiful. And the most common echo is like a 1/4 inch echo, somewhere around there. So like 6 mils is a 1/4 inch, so you could use, say, 5 mils because it's quicker with this technique. So, and you'll see what I mean. So in order to make an echo of this, what we want to do is we want to go to objects, we want to go to transform, offset, and expand it. But when we expand it, we're going to lose our design here that we're going to use as an applique later. So we want to copy and paste it first. Control C, Control V. We'll use this one now. We'll put it a different color. Say orange maybe. And actually I should have made that something brighter. I'll just make it bright red. And now this is what we expand. So we'll do transform, offset, expand. And if you click here, you can see the biggest we can use is 10 mils. That means 5 mils on each side. So, but if I do 10 mils right away, I can guarantee I'm going to have a lot of distortion because of the way that, let me just X out here, you know, with this here, the way it's real tight in through there. So I kind of don't want to go the whole 10. I'll go 5 mils at a time. So it'll be just 2.5 and 2.5 on the edges. So we'll end up having to do it twice, but that's okay. We're just going to do 5 mils first, check, and then come up here and check. And there it is, and you can see our little distortion down here and even right there. So for right now, I'm just going to hide this, click on it, and then for some reason this hasn't been, it's been a little buggy. Like I click on this icon and then there. Okay. So I'll just take this magnifier and draw a box to zoom in. I'll hit edit and I'm going to go into normal so I can see better. And looks like I had the mesh selected, sorry. So we'll click here. I'll go to edit and I'm just going to start deleting things that kind of look a little funky. So I can see this is coming here and this is coming here. I want this to be where all this mess stops. So I can just click it and start deleting it, or I can click on this and, draw a little box. There isn't much here, and then click select. These are selected, then hit delete, and those all got deleted. So I'm left with just this one, and I'll curve this, and maybe I'll bring it up there. Okay, and then here, I'll just click here, and I'm just going to delete that because the less nodes, the better. I'm going to hold my right mouse and drag this over. Don't touch the screen with the hand. Just kind of dust it. You're not really touching the screen. So that looks good. Up here, I'll just draw a box. And then I'll just delete these. I'll just delete that. And I'll just delete this one because remember the square nodes go with the round nodes. It's better to just delete the square one. It doesn't matter because if a round one is attached to a square one, then that round one will get, like if I click here and delete it, it got rid of the square node that it was supposed to be with. And so this one here, if I delete it, you see this round node stayed, but the other one went away. Okay, so now I'll hold out my minus button and zoom out. That looks pretty good. I'll hit enter. So now I'll expand it one more time, 5 mils. That'll give me my 1/4 inch. This looks a little pointy right here and there too. I could just see it. I would edit that more just so you know, because that would bug me. See, there's a square node there. Actually, Control Z. Sometimes, whoops. Sometimes you want to click on the round one, and I can see it's just a little distorted there, and then insert so that round one becomes square. Now I'll delete this one because that was just too long. Maybe I'll add one there. Insert. Now I'll delete this one. Sometimes if it's too long, you can't get that gentle curve that you want. So I just wanted to get rid of that point there. And there's one on the other side too. This one here that I noticed. So if you're OCD like me, so I'll click here, insert, click here and insert, and then this is the one I want to delete. So you kind of keep your eye on that while you're doing everything so you don't lose track. And that's good. So now I can just hit Control 1 since it's selected, and that'll zoom it all out. And now let me do Control S. Shamrock. outline. No, I was doing this under my tests. My stitch and vector. Test folder. Mask hex test. I'll just do 2. It's going to look exactly the same, but I might make it a little different. So now we'll, with it selected, the red one, we'll do the offset again, expand, 5 mils, yes. And we got, a little bit more distortion. You do get some distortion sometimes when you offset an irregularly shaped object. So you have to go in and edit it. Sometimes when you edit it, you want to make a copy of it so you don't lose its shape. Control C, Control V, and then I make that copy yellow so I know to delete it. And I can snap to that yellow one. Hit edit. And down here, I was, even the last time I was a little light, wasn't sure what I wanted to do with it. Let's see. Because this is just not really following the way I'd want it to. That's okay, I guess. So zoom in. This here, I'll just delete this one. It's better to just have one round node on a long curve like that. I'll hold my right mouse and come up here. I thought I saw some overlap up here. Yeah. So I'll just delete that. And then I'll snap to node. Uncheck snap to object edges, snap to node, because I'll snap to that yellow one now. There we go. And that one is snapped there. And you can just barely see the white under there. So I'll just delete that and snap this there. Okay. So that looks good. So I'll hit enter and I'll delete this yellow. I don't know, is there a, oh, that's just this jump. I have jumps showing. Let's go down here, up here to view. Jumps. I don't really want to see them right now because I could see here that I have jumps. So that looks okay. I still am not happy the way I'm doing this down here, but we'll let it go for now. And so we have our outline, and but to cut a hole in the mesh, we have to turn this into a fill. And what's interesting is we don't even have to turn our mesh into a fill like I thought we did. And I'll show you what I mean. So the outline here, because you have to cut something, our fill that we make is going to be like our scissor that cuts the hole in this. So that has to be a fill. So we have our outline selected, our little echo, and we'll do convert, outline, create fill from outline. Now we select this and just drag it up, let go, insert after, and now it's after the mesh, and now we can just do convert, fill mesh, fill to opening. So this fill, this red fill right here, is going to be an opening to the object before it, which I always thought we had to convert this to a fill before we could cut a hole in it, but we don't have to. And if you recall in Studio Regular, when you convert something to an opening, this opening kind of goes with the fill above it. Like you look down in the items window and you see the hole and the fill object down in the items window. But it's weird with the mesh here. You see the mesh it definitely has a hole. If I generate stitches here, it's still a mesh, and it'll generate with the hole. There it is. And, but yet, this is like all by itself. It's so weird. And I can even edit the mesh. You know, I can come over here and click edit and, you know, maybe move things around or do whatever I want, you know, to it, and hit enter, and the hole still stays as long as I leave the hole after the mesh, which that can get confusing because, you know, what if I move the mesh and then forget to move the hole with it? So, in other words, here's what happens. If I take this mesh and say move it down here, insert after, all of a sudden the hole is gone. Control C. So, just so you don't get confused, you may want to put this hole up with the mesh, and the only way to do that is to turn this into a fill and then have this hole after it. So as soon as I click on this and say convert fill mesh sfumato, now see, I don't want to lose my params. So I'm going to control C, control V, sorry. So I got it down here so I don't lose my params. So anyway, so I'll click on this and I'll do convert fill mesh sfumato, mesh to fill. Look at how the hole jumped right up into that fill. And then you can take it and convert it back to a mesh. Fill to mesh. The hole is now in with the mesh. So that I thought was really interesting. So just be aware of that. And of course, you could have just made it a fill before you started all this cutting of the hole. That would have solved everything. But just so you know, if it ever happens to you and you're like, why is this hole down here? It stays down there because you started with the mesh. So I'll just come up here now, click on this, and I'll drag it up with my left mouse, let go, set identical params, and there it is. And just so you know what I mean by start with the fill first, whoops, generates, I must have generated stitches somewhere. Okay. So this one is still showing down here. But let's convert this to a fill just so I could show you what I mean by, you know, if you want to start with the fill as if you were in, say, Studio Regular or something. Let's just hide that and let's convert this to a fill. Whoops. We'll convert this to a fill. And then we'll put this one, hold, let go, insert after. And if I convert this to a hole, it's going to jump up here and I won't have it anymore. And that may be what you want, but for this lesson, I'm just going to control C, control V. So I have two of them. I don't like to turn it yellow because then I might delete it by accident. So anyways, so this one now, if we, you know, want to cut our hole like as if we were in Studio Regular, we got to fill in, you know, before it. So we'll click on this, we'll convert it to a fill because it still has to be a fill. And then we'll drag that up, insert before. I guess I didn't have to make this because I wasn't thinking that I had to convert it to a fill. So anyways, so now there it is. Now we'll just convert fill mesh, fill to opening, and it jumped up in there. And then you can convert that to a mesh. And then you could go then and give it your params. So, but sometimes you don't start that way. Sometimes you you made your mesh already, like I did at the beginning of this tutorial, and you know, you're like, oh, I'd like a hole in that mesh. And sometimes maybe you just want to see how it looks and so on. And so either way you do it, either if you start with the mesh or start with the fill, just know with the mesh, yeah, you don't have to combine them, but the hole is going to be down here and the mesh is going to be up here with the hole in it until you convert it to a fill and then convert it back to a mesh. Or like I said, you could start with the fill first, make your hole, then convert that fill to a mesh and give it your mesh properties or params. I'll just delete that one. So, but anyway, so that's a really fun way. Let me bring this back to create, you know, a nice applique. And so now you have this black one. You have the red one. You don't really need it because if I go into 3D, well, it depends on what you want, but quilters usually just have an outline for their echo. So the mesh already has the outline because I said to include the contour. So you don't really need the red one. So in that case, I would turn it yellow just so that when I get into editor is when I'll delete it. I don't want to delete it here because I kind of want to keep it, you know, in case I want to do something else. But if you did want to put a decorative outline on it, of course, you can keep it and long hold to bring it back. This is so fussy. I don't remember it being this fussy in the earlier ones. And of course, you can go into params and give it a decorative outline. Now, like I said, most quilters don't, but you know, you can. I don't know what you would do. Probably use one of my custom ones. You know, that doesn't really look that great, the way it's going in and out like that. So, in which case I'd probably go into my fragment editors, which is user editors. And I come up here, open sample, favorite outlines. These are my folders. They're already up. If they weren't, I would navigate to them up here. But they're already here. And I don't know what I would put. Oh, I remember I had this flower one. I'd probably want something that's symmetrical. I always use the arrowhead. I don't know why. And I have this sorted, I think, by date. The last time I used 4 mils. I think I always use the 6 mils. In which case I would probably sort by name, and it's descending name. That's fine. I'll just click arrowhead 6, and I can add more to, if I want to see my arrowhead 4, open sample. Done. And then click on params. Click here, go up. I'll just try the 4 and see what it looks like. Probably not gonna like it. I usually like the 6. It's just shorter. It's 6 millimeters wide. That looks fine. If I click here, it's 6 millimeters in width. So, which it's not really. I don't know why they say that. So in which case I'd probably turn it, click on here, set identical color, and move it up. And then this I'd make my applique off of. But here's the thing, I can tell just by looking at this shamrock that I probably want to change the stem to just a single line so that it's, when I do convert it to an applique, this just becomes a single satin. Because right now, if I were to turn this into a satin, you know, the satin decorative part of my applique, I'd have double satins here. So I'd probably edit this if I were going to turn it into an applique, in which case I'd probably copy and paste it just to start, and turn the pasted one yellow just so I could snap to it if I want. And yeah, I'd probably edit this one and split it here and make this a single line. That's probably what I would do. So here I would split object, right click split object, and then click again on the black, edit, right click, split object. So now I just have this and these two, and I'd probably get rid of one of them. Probably this short one, just delete it. And then this one, I'd probably move it over. So let me hit edit. I'll just delete all the square nodes. And I'll delete that straggler. I'll put that there. And I'll just I'll uncheck snapping. I'm in 3D now. I'll leave that one up there just so that it still stays in the center of this, since I already did this. I'll go back to the black now and edit it to connect those two. So since this is the beginning node and I just want to close edges here, but I want them to close up here, I'm going to reverse the stitches so that this is the end node and this is the beginning. So I go to edge, reverse nodes order. Now that's the beginning, that's the end. When I close, the end snaps up. And then I'll just delete this so that I could smooth this a little bit better. That's fine. And I'll delete this yellow one. I just needed it to help me along. So now from here, I'd probably turn this into an applique. And generally when you turn something into an applique, if you want to see the layers, it's best to convert it to a column. Convert outline, create column from outline. I'll set it at 3 mil since it's so small. And then you can see what you're dealing with. And I can see I have to edit this. And up here, I'm not sure about these corners, how they're going to do, but you're probably going to have some editing. So let's just start with this, and I'll hit edit. And as I zoom in, yeah, you can kind of see that so I could see it better on this side, what they're doing. So I want it to end right here. So I'm going to just delete these. And I'll just delete that round node. And I did kind of want to snap that. I didn't copy and paste it though, so it's not that great. Let me delete that to make that better curve. And then this, we have it doubled up here. Okay, so that looks better. And I didn't make this a symmetrical shape, so I can't even cut it in half and mirror it. I mean, well, it is kind of it is symmetrical. Let me see. Yeah, I could cheat and just cut it in half. I think it would still line up over here with my echoes. So in that case, I'd come over here. I'm going to hit end. Okay, so it's ending here. Oh, that's convenient. So I'm going to zoom in there, draw a box, and I'm going to take this up here. I'm going to snap it to the guide here. Like I said, I could have copied and pasted it. I would have made life easier on myself. So I would have had something to snap to. And then I'm just going to delete this for a minute so I could see what's going on. And then this one we'll put right there. Okay. So that's my ending. And I can see my start point there. But this is all going to get deleted. All of this. Whoops, Control Z. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to reverse the nodes order of this column. Edge, reverse nodes order. So now I'm starting here. And if it's starting here, obviously it's going this way because columns can only start and end. So then if I come up here with a column, I don't believe I could split it like I can in outline. Like I can't click on a node, click on this node. See, there's no split. So I have to split it using the guide. So did I just delete it? I must have hit a button. I have to go in and edit again. Darn it, because I lost everything here. Okay, so change of plan, because I did some work offline, and if I split this with the guide, yes, I can split it with the guide. I just have to select the guide till it turns red, right click and slice it. But if I do that, it's going to turn this column into an auto column fill. And that's going to mess things up then when I mirror it. It's not going to look good. I don't want to lose the fact that I made a column. So instead of splitting it with the guide, I'm just going to delete all of these nodes of the column, of this regular column, and then mirror this left side. So I'll click on it again. Let me actually, before I click on it, I'm going to hold Control, change the color, just so we don't get confused. So I'll click on it and hit Edit. And this time I will use this lasso tool, which is nice. We can't use it like this in Studio Regular, in edit mode. but we can in Studio Next. Oops, get everything down here. So I have these all selected. Now, if I'm starting here, you could see this is my start point, and I'm going in this direction. But I have these round nodes selected. If I click select and then hit delete so that all of these get deleted, I believe these round nodes go with these square nodes, not these. I'm pretty sure. So let's just see when I hit delete. Okay, perfect. So now they're all deleted, and I'll hit my end on my keyboard, my end button on my keyboard. So this is the last node, and I'm gonna do edge, mirror, duplicate, and mirror horizontally. Okay, that only did the one edge. Perfect. So let's click this node. My guide is selected. See, when I hover, the guide is selected. So if you go kind of off to the side, then you can select the node. You know, it turned like a, here the guide selected, here the node would be selected. So now this is selected, edge, mirror, duplicate, and mirror. Oh, I never fixed this over here. Okay, so let me Control Z and come in and fix that. I thought I did. Maybe I, whoops. Okay. Oh, I'm still in this select mode. I had already, or the, I must have had the magic wand or selected. So if I click this, it's going to take me out of the magic wand tool. Okay, so I'm back to edit. So now I have my magnifier. Let's magnify down here and let's fix this. So let me zoom out. So now I can click here. Whoops, not that. The node and edge, mirror, duplicate, and mirror. Okay. Hit enter. Control S. And then I'll work on this. Control 1. Zoom out a little. Edit. So this is actually going to stitch first, and I'll just insert. Let's see, it's going that way, but it doesn't matter. I hit a round node, so insert will insert on either side, but I'll click this and insert. That's fine. And then insert, insert. I just want 2 square nodes here. And then I'm just going to reverse this so that I could delete these up here just for a minute. Reverse nodes. So see, now they're down there. So now I can delete this one and delete that one. Okay, that's fine. And I'll reverse them back because I do want it to start up here. Well, no, it actually has to end up there. It'll start down here and end up here, so then this one can stitch. So I'm fine. Just click anywhere. Okay. So, but this would stitch first. Whoops. Just left drag, let go, insert before. And so Control S. I'm not sure what my params are on this. I'll just leave it. I'll leave that as automatic just for right now. But I just want to see how it looks. Let's generate it. I probably want this to be pointed. I don't know. I I think I'd like it to follow this point. So let's edit that. That's easy enough to do. That's better. Okay. And so you can see my, I probably have auto shortening on my column. Let's just see. Because you can see how it looks like it's shortened. Yeah, it's on. And a lot of times you'll look at it and you'll say, oh, that looks so ugly. You know, if I take it off and hit apply, it just looks so much prettier. But you kind of don't want to be deceived because that could be too much there. You basically want to look at the density map with it, with auto shortening off. We'll just see how it looks. And I honestly, to be honest, I usually bump this up to 4.3, 4.2 or 4.3, sometimes 4.5 even. And which means I would have to put the other one the same way. But we'll just see what the density looks like. So I'm going to drag this, set identical params, generate density map. So you could see where I didn't auto shorten. Now let me go into it and click on params with the density map still showing. Let's click that and see if that changes. I mean, it did get better. It did get better. We'll just leave it and hope that it'll look good in editor and when you sew it out. So then we'd want to obviously make our connection. So right click on this one because we want them, we don't want tie-ons, you know, we don't want to tie off and then a tie on. We want these two to stitch seamlessly. Right click, create connection, and there's our little connection. Control S. So now I'm going to just make my other two, my placement and my tack down. I'm just going to make those manually like I normally do. So I have these black outlines that were my original outlines, and I'm just going to make sure that they coincide with the column because they're just placement and tack down. So as long as they're in the center of this satin, I should be fine. So I'm going to go into normal view and we'll just start with the shamrock up here. It looks okay everywhere except right here. So I am going to Control C, Control V, make this one yellow. Go back to the black, edit, and I mean, I may not snap to the yellow, but it's just there just in case I need it. And I'm actually gonna move this down. I'll snap it to the guide. Whoops. Oh, I don't have my guide locked. Let me just hit enter for a minute. Option, guide, lock guide. Okay, let me go back and edit. See, now if I hover over the guide, it doesn't um, select the guide because the guide is locked. So that looks about centered. And I'll just put this one kind of close. This is my beginning. Should have done that one first. And then I'll close edges so that, the end one snaps. And then for here, I'm just going to delete the square node. And that looks good. Because if I do area to center outline on the column just to get the outline, it'll be a mess. There'll be tons of lines and everything. So I know I did things a little backwards because, that's sometimes what we do when we're creating. We're not sure. I actually wasn't going to go into the applique in this lesson, but now I decided to. So getting an applique lesson along with everything else. So that looks pretty good. So that would be my placement and tack down for that one. And then this one, we really don't need this one because remember our stem is just going to be a satin stitch and we already have that right here. So I could just get rid of this. Now, you may say to yourself, to do your applique layers, you may say, I just want to select this column and do convert column to applique. That's what I do in regular Studio. But guess what? It doesn't seem to be working in Studio Next. Now, I don't know if I did something wrong or if it's just, a bug in the program or whatnot. This is 10.88. I did not keep 10.89 because it kept crashing. So I went back to 10.88. So I don't know if 10.89 is working, but given all the other issues with it, I kind of doubt it. But just so you know, in regular Studio, that's what we could have done, and then we could have kept our like our tack down, the zigzag portion of the tack down. We could have used that and maybe deleted the other ones or just kept them all and just gave them different params or whatever. I must have changed the color. Okay. So I control Z and it control Z'd twice. That's another bug in Studio Next. Sometimes it does that. So let me delete that outline again. Okay. So, you may want to go to regular Studio if you want to just do it by converting this column to applique and then split applique into layers. And I'll show you what I mean because in regular Studio, it obviously works. So I have the same design, similar in regular Studio. Here's the column, and I'll go to convert column to applique, and there's our applique. And then when I do convert split applique into layers, you can only do that when it's a column. Here's your 3 layers, your placement, or you could call this your tack down. A lot of people just copy and paste it, Control C, Control V, insert before, turn one of them, that's your placement, that's your tack down outline, and here's your tack down zigzag. Now it looks like it's just 2 lines, but when you generate it, I'm in 3D, it's these chains, like a chain stitch or diamonds. So in Studio Next, it's this split applique into layers is not working. And I'll show you what I mean. So if I take the same column and I do convert column and applique, column to applique, there's our applique. But then when I want to split it into layers, convert column and applique, split applique into layers, here it is right here. You'll watch, it'll disappear. It's gone. So it's worthless. You can't even use it in Studio Next. So you have to do it manually the way I'm doing it. I'll Control Z again. So here it is, a column. And so here's our outline that we were working with. So this will be our placement. I'll Control C, Control V, get another one. Whoops. Drag that up. We'll make our placement red. Now, like I said, you can have another tack down that's exactly the same, you know, just a different color. I like to make my utility stitches kind of like primary colors. And then you could copy and paste it one more time and give it a diamond stitch for your other tack down. It's like a secondary tack down that people like to put on. In other words, let me show you. Control C, Control V. Control C, Control V. Okay. We'll bring this up. Insert before. I'm still going to make this like a, not a primary, but a brighter, funky color. But then this one will turn into the diamond stitch. So what happens is you do your placement, put your fabric down, you do your tack down with a single stitch, and then you cut around it, and then you do that chain stitch, this purple chain stitch. We'll change this to the chain stitch, and then you can cut around it some more if you have stragglers, and then you do your decorative. So that's why you keep them all different colors. So if we make this the chain, we go into params, and I'll click on outline here. Okay. Oh, I went into inches view because I was in inches in Studio Regular, units, metric, these three dots. So, params, and then keep sample as your mode. We'll use these arrows to get down. The diagonal squares is basically all it is. And if you look at the one in Studio Regular, and they're exactly the same size. If you want to measure this, okay, width-wise, if I take my tape from here to here, it's about 3 mils. So I'll Control Tab to get back. So these two cell lengths are like our width across or whatever, and they were 3 mils. Okay, and then this tab is your width. If I go back to Studio Regular, my measure is still on, and the width of these is about 1.5. So 1.5, just hit enter once and hit apply, and I don't really see it because I think of the color. Let me hit done. Color did I? Oh yeah, because I made them light green. Let me make it purple to match the one in, oh, I still can't see it much. But there they are. There. And it's weird because they almost look like wider in in Studio Regular. Let me go into 3D and hide this. It can be deceiving sometimes. I don't know why it's so hard for me to hide things now. Can't hide that. Long hold. Okay. If you notice, it just, I don't know. Okay, I'm zoomed in. Okay, what is my zoom here? It says zoom is 4. Let's see. Well, if you click it, you go 1:1. If I zoom in, okay, I'll zoom out. Whoops, minus to try to, okay, there we are at 4. So, you know, screens are completely different, but still, this just looks wider to me. It just looks wider. So, I don't know. It could just be an optical illusion. Can't seem to bring that back. Sometimes I think I have to click on the icon and then I don't know. So I don't know. It just seems a little wide for something you want to trim around. So you would have to do a test sew and see. And plus, you know, I am zoomed in, so, but I am going to go ahead and make these narrower. So the diagonal squares go into params. And I'm just going to make them 1 mil. And that could be a mistake, just so you know. It's kind of tricky going back and forth, you know, between, and see, now it just looks like it's supposed to. So anyways, so you'd have your placement, your first tack down, you know, your placement, put down your fabric, your first tack down, trim your fabric, your second tack down, trim your stragglers, and then your decorative stitch. And I think I already set this. So you would stitch the stem first, and then it would connect right to the main. And that would be it. Oops, I don't need this anymore. And now I remember why this certain objects are showing, even though they shouldn't. I keep forgetting. If you're in 3D view and you don't have an object generated, it's going to show through even the ones that are after it. So as soon as I generate this blue, you won't see this line. Generate here. Okay, so now we see the red one. Obviously, that one's not generated. There's so many things. There we go. There's so many things that I forget. You know, if you don't do it all the time, you forget. So there you have it. It's just gorgeous. And select, deselect. And so probably want to stitch your mesh first. Let me hit Control-1. And you can put the same decorative outline around your mesh. So this, if I want to outline this, I'd have to copy and paste it, Control-C, Control-V, convert that to a fill, mesh to fill, and then convert that to an outline. Create outline from fill. And we already have the inner one. We don't need it. We don't need this. We'll take this and our left mouse, drag it up, insert before, and then click on this arrow, scroll or slide up, insert, or I'm sorry, set identical parameters. So now they're both arrows. And whoops, not params. I meant to hit generate. Generate stitches. And so then, so we have the arrowhead around there as well. And just so you know, when you hit, if you were to click on mesh to make an outline and you see convert, create outlines from mesh, that doesn't create the fill outline. It actually turns these into outlines. And that's kind of helpful if you want to make one layer meshes out of your mesh fills, like, because these are 2 layers. And I was going to do a video on that, but Dushan said that they're going to be offering some of the blackwork meshes as single layer so that we quilters can use them as single layer quilting designs. Because, you know, quilters don't use double layers. And for right now, all we have is the stipple that they have. The stipple you could do as 1 layer, but you do that in editor. So at any rate, that's what the outlines are for the mesh. I'll show you what I mean. If I click on this and do convert, create outlines from mesh, you know, it's huge. It's here, it is down here. Let me make it, just make it pink. And, you know, you could see you've got 400 objects down here. But they're all outlines. You know, I could ungroup it, you know, but I'm not going to. You know, I could ungroup it. And then, you know, you could see how they stitch out and so on, and you could separate them. Sometimes this works for separating them. Sometimes, though, I've noticed sometimes it's just as easy to do. If I come up here, click it, convert to editable stitches, that makes them manual stitches. Sometimes it's easier to separate them first as manual stitches, and then you might be able to convert them to outlines after that, you know, convert out or manual to connection and then convert connection to outline. I've done it so many different ways just to get the single line, and I'm a little undecided how I feel, but that's a totally video all itself. It's be a huge long video, and since Dushan might come out with it for us, I'm just gonna wait. If anybody really wants to know, let me know. So at any rate, so that's how we got this outline, because, you know, by converting it to a fill, that's how we got this outer outline. Because on this, you don't really see, I don't see the outer. I mean, maybe it's there somewhere tucked away. I'm sure it is because, well, I don't know. I don't know. What's this one? If I click on it, well, maybe it is. Maybe it is part of the outline. But, you know, it's so hard to find it all in one piece. If I hit edit, yeah, it's not even. It's just... So, but I do see the outline in pink. So it's in there somewhere. So it's just easier to turn it into a fill. So let me delete that. So there you go. Try to make these, what goes with green. So there you go. And I'll hit Control S this time. And I'll compile up here. Save this job. And showing my hoop is, 0 inches. Maybe because I just went back to my update. I don't know. Oh, because the last one was, it said whatever bad file or something. So, Genome M1. It usually centers it in editor. You don't have to hit the center button when you change your hoop, which is interesting. And then up here, show. And there you go. Not crazy about that color. What I'm noticing is my chain, because I think because I didn't save it, so I didn't get my chain around the edge. So that's because when I locked up the program, I didn't save that part of it. So let me just go back. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to save over. So there you go. Control S and compile. This should probably be gold. That's what it is, because the pot of gold. So there's your applique. And what's interesting too is you could put your fabric down, and before you stitch your green satin, you could put a cute little mesh over your fabric so that it looks almost like a violin, but it's really just a mesh fill. That would be so pretty. So I'd bring it back. I keep thinking of things, so sorry. I'm going to get rid of this guide, erase. I know I did before, but then I locked up the system. So I'll just go into 3D, and I will select one of the outlines, and I'll convert it to a fill, outline, create fill, and then convert that to a mesh, fill to mesh, and I'll just click on the mesh, and for right now I'll just put set identical parameters. Then I don't have to change the stitch length, and I'll go into params, and I'm gonna go with, I just love all the black works. They're just so pretty. I love this one. We'll put it at a scale of it's about 75 because it is small. And I'll keep my stitch length at 2 and 2. And everything else is the same. I have to include the contours because otherwise I'll have travel stitches in here. So even though I don't really need contours, I have to include them. So we'll hit apply. done. Let's change the color now. Let's see what this one looks like. That's okay. I do like it a little gold like that. I think what I did off camera was I double clicked on one of the boxes and I used one of these colors here, like this one I think I chose, and then hit apply. And so then the box changed color. So I'll take this and slide it up to stitch before the satins, but after all of the other fabric and everything is down, all of these, the tack downs and so on. So there it is there, and I think I'm going to make the mesh a slightly darker orange. Okay. And I might change it up again, my colors, but for right now we'll go with that. Control S, and we'll compile. Let's first look at everything. So that should stitch out good. So this one though, I see that it ends on the inside. So that means if I want to not have a jump, at least eliminate one of my jumps, I should probably put the small one first. So let's grab the small one before the big outline, insert before. And then as soon as I moved it, you could see the scissors went away. So that just tells you that where this mesh ended, and we can see a little red dot right there, where this mesh ended, this outline here began. So we don't even have to worry about making a connection because they're ending and starting in the same spot. And if I hit edit on, say, the mesh, yes, you can see a yellow circle up here signifying like an ending spot. That could be the ending for the outline. It's also that red dot there, you know, whenever you edit something, it always highlights the very last node. So yes, that's the last node that is creating this vector shape, but the actual inside of it, the mesh that's being stitched, is not ending up there. And as we could see from the picture over here on the right, that little red dot is right here, more than likely. And we can go and see right where this outline starts. So we'll hit edit on the outline. And outlines, when they're closed outlines, they start and end in the same spot. So there it is down there. When you zoom in, you can't see the yellow circle anymore because these nodes get bigger and they hide the yellow circle. So, but at any rate, this is our starting and our ending both. See, there's the yellow circle under there. Control Z, Control Z. So and I'll hit enter, and I'll just select the big one and hit Control 1. It can get confusing with those yellow circles and whatnot. And that's why these little red dots over here, that's always where the object ends. So that's always helpful for you, especially when you have something like this, you know, a mesh. They don't always end on the outer edge. This one ended on the inner edge. So there you go. So these will stitch, those will stitch, and then that'll stitch over your fabric, and then you have your outline. I wanted to check one thing on this because I remember, let me look, this point here, yeah, that point is where it's ending on that column, this column, and I don't like the way that looks, so I'm going to go in and edit that. So they're ending up there, and but they're starting here, so I just hate having my ties be up there. It just looks so bad. I could have started like down here, you know, started and ended down here and just made this a pretty point. That's what I should have done. So to get that effect, what I would have to do then is say, I'll hit enter and I'll copy and paste it, Control C, Control V. I'm going to snap to this one, go back to this one, hit edit. I just don't want to tie off up there. I'll make it down here on on these. So I'll basically just hit end. So I'm on my end point. I hit end on my keyboard. I'm going to delete that and then delete that. And then I'm going to bring these down to meet here. So I'm going to reverse my nodes order, edge, reverse nodes. So everything's starting here. Now these are just regular nodes. So I'm in column mode B alternating. So I'm on this one. So let me click here. And I mean, I want to see it like that, basically. And there you go, like that. So I could connect these and just make these curves and see if I could do it. So I could close my objects so they both snapped. And then this one, make it a curve up here. Snap, oops. Take that and snap it to this node, this yellow node. And then hit end. Okay, I'm on my end node, the one that's on top. And hit this and then snap it. That's weird. I'm still snapping here. I wanted to snap to the node there. Same with this one. So that's good now. So now my ending node is there. I'm happy. So let's generate that in 3D. Control S first and then generate. Oh, the yellow's on top. Let me delete the yellow. It's like, why can't I see that? Okay. It didn't really make the corner that I wanted. I wanted it to look like these. I have to probably add Because with this one, I didn't have to do an end of segment. It just naturally did it. You know, sometimes you have to click and say place end of segment. Now here I have an end of segment, but it's not cooperating. So I'm going to insert. I'm not sure if this is going to do it in insert. And then end of segments have to be square. So I have to insert again. And now click here, right click, place end of segment. Maybe that'll help me get it. Insert, insert. I don't know if this is going to work or not. No, not that one. I'll just click on this one because that's the one I want. Okay. The other thing is, oh, I know what it is. I completely forgot. It's the auto corners is checked. When I hit apply, sometimes if you uncheck auto corners, it makes this for you, but it worked with my end of segment. Okay, let's just see what that does. It shouldn't change it. Yeah, it stayed the same. So I'll just leave it on auto corners. I'm done. Okay, so now I'm happy. They all look the same. Okay, perfect. And there's my ties are down there. I am interjecting the video because I did forget to check my connection once I changed the location of the start point of this column. So after the stem stitches, Control 1, okay, it's going to end, you can't even see the red dot on there, but the connection is, if I go into normal view, you see there's the connection because, you know, the stem is ending up there. But now I'm starting my column down lower. So I could leave it, but you know, you never know because of the pull of these satins, they could pull in just enough to show part of this connection here. So I'm going to edit it. So I'll hit edit and should have zoomed in a little bit. And with this selected, I'm just going to, I'll make it straight just for a minute and hit insert because I just want to grab this and I want to make it look like it's, you know, still like one of the satins. Kind of don't want to get it too close to the tie. Let me zoom in a little more. And I'll just kind of put it there. That's fine. And then up here is where I'll make this a curve. So with this selected, the arrow pointing to this, I make a curve and then I'll just bring it down. I don't have to bring it right down to where all these other lines are. I'll just put it next to it. That's fine. And so that's just a safeguard so it doesn't show. Interjecting again, One thing I forgot, another thing I forgot is since this is a satin and I'm making my connection here to try and mimic a satin underneath, I'm going to increase my minimum stitch length to as big as it can go, 1.5. So 1.5, enter, enter. And then I'm going to make my max, I'll just make it 2.5, just so that this is one long stitch. You know, if this is 3.0, then 2.5 would be fine for that. And then I'll hit enter and I'll generate it. And I do want to see it though in 3D, which means I have to hide this. I just want to see it. And that's what I wanted. I just wanted one stitch. Perfect. Okay, back to the video. I hit Control S and I'll just compile. Okay. I was calling it test 3 now. Okay, there it is. I'll select it and just bring it into view. So anyways, there you go. And I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. All right, guys. I'm always there if you need any help. WeQuiltStudio.com and Lisa WeQuilt on Facebook. You can message me anytime. Okay. See ya.